like, and make sure to engage in comments and share this video to your friends and story lovers, and click on the subscribe button on the screen to subscribe to Inquisco for more real and true stories like this. It started with a feeling, a shift in the air between us. At first I told myself I was imagining it, that nothing had changed, that my marriage was still what it had always been. Comfortable, steady, normal. But I knew better. Deep down, I felt it before I ever saw the proof. Ryan had always been attentive, always asking how my day was, always checking in, always present. But lately his questions felt loaded, his gaze lingering just a little too long, as if he were watching me instead of looking at me. He'd bring up things casually, where I'd been, who I'd seen, if I was happy. And every time, something in my stomach twisted, a quiet dread creeping up my spine. Then, one night, I woke up to find him missing from bed. I wasn't alarmed at first. Maybe he'd just gone for water or to check on something. But when I crept out into the hallway, the faint glow of his phone illuminated his face in the darkness. He was sitting on the couch, shoulders tense, staring down at the screen like he was looking at something he couldn't unsee. I knew before I even asked that it had something to do with me. "Ryan?" My voice came out softer than I intended, and he flinched, like he hadn't heard me come in. He looked up, face unreadable. Then he turned the phone toward me. For a second, I didn't breathe. My own words stared back at me. The texts, our texts, me and Liam. I felt my whole body go cold. "Where did you get that?" Ryan's voice was eerily calm. "You left your laptop open." I swallowed hard. Idiot. I had been careful for so long, but I must have gotten comfortable, sloppy. And now... "I thought he was your ex," Ryan continued, his voice sharper now. "That's what you told me, isn't it? That it was over? That he was out of your life?" I couldn't speak, couldn't move, because the truth was, Liam and I had never really ended. Not truly. We'd just found a way to exist in the space between. Ryan let out a hollow laugh. "Wow, you're not even denying it." I forced myself to speak. "It's not what you think." Ryan's jaw clenched. "Then tell me, what exactly is it?" I struggled to find the words, but what could I say? That Liam had been there before Ryan, before this life I had built? That when I met Ryan, I told myself I was moving on? That Liam was a mistake, a bad habit I had finally kicked? That I believed it for a while. But Liam never really left. Even when we stopped being together, we still talked. And then talking turned into something more. And then one night, when Ryan was out of town, I had found myself standing at Liam's door, heart pounding, hands shaking. But I hadn't gone inside. I had walked away. It didn't matter now, because Ryan had the messages. Proof. "I didn't sleep with him," I finally whispered. Ryan stared at me, unblinking. "You didn't have to." The air between us felt suffocating. I wanted to reach for him, to fix this somehow, but I didn't even know where to begin. Then Ryan did something that sent ice through my veins. He stood up, picked up his phone, and dialed a number. I knew before I even heard the voice on the other end who it was. And then, in the stillness of the night, Liam's voice came through the speaker. "Ryan," he said smoothly, "I was wondering when you'd call." Silence filled the room, thick and suffocating. Ryan's hand gripped the phone so tightly I thought he might crush it. The fact that Liam answered so casually, expecting this call, sent a chill straight down my spine. "Ryan," Liam's voice came through the speaker again, smooth, unbothered. I take it you found our little secret? I felt my stomach drop. The way he said it, our little secret, like he was taunting Ryan, taunting me. He wasn't panicking, wasn't trying to explain. He was enjoying this. Ryan's jaw tightened. Yeah, he said, voice dangerously low. I did. I saw the vein in Ryan's temple pulsing, his body rigid with barely contained anger. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to stop this, to grab the phone, to control the situation before it got worse. But I couldn't move. Liam let out a slow exhale, like he was amused. And what exactly do you want to talk about? Ryan's grip on the phone shifted. I want to hear it from you, he said, voice eerily steady. I want you to tell me exactly what's been going on behind my back. I held my breath. For the first time, Liam hesitated. Not long, just a beat. But I heard it. And Ryan did too. You really want to do this over the phone? Liam finally said. Ryan's lip curled. You afraid to say it out loud? I clenched my hands into fists, my nails digging into my palms. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely think. Liam sighed, like he was bored. Fine, he said. You want the truth? Here it is. She never really left me. I felt the world tilt. Ryan went absolutely still. His knuckles turned white around the phone. Liam continued, voice dripping with smug satisfaction. You were always just, what do they call it? A rebound? A distraction? He let out a low chuckle. Man, I gotta admit, I almost felt bad for you. Ryan's eyes flicked to mine, filled with something raw and dark. But he wasn't looking at me like a man who had been betrayed. He was looking at me like a man who was about to do something dangerous. That's enough, I cut in, my voice sharp, but my hands were trembling. Liam, stop. He laughed again. Oh, now you want to play innocent? I swallowed hard. I should have ended this call the second Ryan dialed his number, but it was too late now. Ryan's voice was calm, too calm when he spoke again. Where are you? A cold wave of fear washed over me. I knew that tone. Liam, however, didn't seem the least bit concerned. You gonna come find me, big guy? Ryan's eyes didn't leave mine. I just want to have a conversation. Liam chuckled. Sure you do. He paused, then said, You already know where to find me. Ryan hung up. Just like that. No last words, no threats, no yelling. And that scared me more than anything else. I took a step toward him. Ryan? He turned, grabbed his jacket and walked straight to the door. Panic surged through me. You can't go. He didn't look at me. You should have thought about that before you lied to me. My heart slammed against my ribs. I grabbed his arm. Ryan, listen to me. Liam's trying to get under your skin. Don't do this. He pulled away. I just want to talk. I didn't believe him, but before I could say another word, he was gone. I stood frozen, staring at the door, my mind racing. I had to stop this, somehow, so I did the only thing I could. I grabbed my keys and followed him. I pulled up to Liam's place just in time to see Ryan's car screech to a stop in front of it. He was out of the car before the engine had fully shut off, moving with terrifying purpose. Liam was already waiting on the porch, leaning casually against the railing, arms crossed over his chest, like he'd been expecting this exact moment, like he'd been waiting for it. I barely had time to get out of my car before Ryan was on him. He didn't swing, not yet, but he got right in Liam's face, the tension between them crackling like a live wire. Say it to my face, Ryan demanded, voice low and lethal. Liam smirked. What? That your wife still loves me? Ryan lunged. I screamed, running toward them as Ryan slammed Liam against the wall. For a second I thought he was actually going to hit him, but he didn't. He just stood there, breathing heavily, fists clenched at his sides. Liam just grinned. That all you got? Ryan did hit him then. A brutal, bone-rattling punch straight to the jaw. Liam stumbled back, catching himself against the railing. But instead of getting angry, he laughed. I ran in between them, shoving Ryan back. Stop! Both of you! Ryan was shaking, chest rising and falling rapidly. But Liam? He just wiped the blood from his lip, smiling like he'd won some kind of sick game. And then he looked at me. I told you, he said. He was never going to handle the truth. Ryan's breathing slowed. He looked between us, something new flashing in his eyes, something worse than rage, something cold. And then, without another word, he turned and walked away. He didn't look back, didn't say a thing. I stood frozen, watching him go, heart pounding. Something told me this wasn't over, not even close. The sound of Ryan's footsteps faded into the night, but the weight of his silence pressed down on me like a boulder. I wanted to run after him, to say something, anything, but my legs refused to move. My whole body felt locked in place, trapped in the moment I knew had changed everything. Liam wiped his bloody lip with the back of his hand, still smirking like this was all some kind of game. Well, he said, tilting his head. That went well. I spun on him, my voice shaking with rage. What the hell is wrong with you? His smirk didn't falter. Oh, come on, you and I both knew this was bound to happen eventually. He took a step closer, lowering his voice. It's kind of poetic, don't you think? He was the lie. I was always the truth. I shoved him back, hard. You don't get to do this. You don't get to stand there and act like this was all some twisted love story. Liam just shrugged. I don't have to act. That's exactly what this is. I shook my head, my breath coming out in short gasps. My hands were trembling, my heart slamming against my ribs, and then my phone vibrated in my pocket. I grabbed it without thinking, my fingers fumbling as I pulled it out. A text. From Ryan. Check your email. Now. I swallowed hard, dread clawing its way up my throat. My hands felt numb as I tapped the screen, navigating to my inbox. One unread message. From Ryan. No subject, no text, just a single attachment. A video. I hesitated. My body screamed at me not to open it, to just delete it and pretend none of this was happening. But I tapped it anyway. The screen went dark for a moment before the video started playing. The footage was grainy, shaky, like it had been filmed secretly, from a distance. The timestamp in the corner told me it was from 3 months ago. My stomach churned. Then the picture became clearer, and I felt my blood turn to ice. It was me and Liam, in a hotel room. The angle, God, the angle. I had no idea how Ryan had gotten this footage. I had no idea who had filmed it, but there was no denying what it showed. My breath came out in a choked gasp. My vision blurred. I could barely hear over the pounding in my ears. Ryan had known. For months. And he hadn't said a word. I stumbled back, gripping my phone so tightly my fingers ached. I felt like I was going to be sick. Liam stepped closer, peering over my shoulder. What is it? I turned the screen toward him, and for the first time since this whole nightmare started, Liam's face lost its smirk. His eyes narrowed as he took in the video. A flicker of something passed over his expression. something I'd never seen before. Fear. My phone vibrated again. Another message from Ryan. Come home. Now. I couldn't breathe. Liam's jaw tightened. You're not going. I looked at him, my pulse hammering in my throat. You don't get it, I whispered. This isn't a choice. Liam exhaled slowly, rubbing his temple. Listen to me, he said, voice suddenly serious. Ryan's not the type to just walk away. He cut himself off, shaking his head. You don't know what he's capable of. I swallowed hard. And you do? He didn't answer right away, and that silence told me everything. I turned away, my hands trembling as I got into my car. My thoughts were a chaotic mess, but one thing was clear. I had to go home. And yet, as I drove through the darkened streets, something gnawed at the back of my mind. Ryan had kept that video for months, waiting. Why? Why had he chosen tonight to send it? A fresh wave of unease rolled through me. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. Something didn't feel right. And when I finally pulled into our driveway, my heart nearly stopped. The house was dark, completely dark, except for the faint glow of a single light in the living room. I hesitated, every instinct in me screaming, "Don't go inside." But I forced myself to move. I stepped onto the porch, my breath coming out in shallow gasps. My hands were ice cold as I reached for the door handle. It was unlocked. I swallowed down the lump in my throat and pushed it open. The living room was empty, too empty. The furniture was still there, but something was off. Then I saw it, a suitcase, by the door, and next to it, Ryan's wedding ring. My stomach dropped. I took a shaky step forward. Ryan. No answer. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I turned toward the hallway, and that's when I saw it. A piece of paper taped to the wall. I stepped closer, my blood running cold as I read the words scrawled in Ryan's handwriting. You never really left him. Now you'll never leave me. My breath hitched. And then I heard the lock click behind me. Click on the subscribe button on the screen to subscribe to Inquisco for more real and true stories like this.